accidentally burned down my neighbor's fence, and she tries to milk me for $10,000. Judge humbles that ass up real quick. This sub has gotten me through a lot of boredom and has provided me with hours of entertainment. I figure it's my turn to tell my revenge story. So it's been about 4 years since this happened. I was about 18 at the time, working for a security company. There were constant call-offs and no-shows, have no idea why. But being so young and naive, I was constantly working 16-hour shifts and not coming home until 8 a.m. Also, I lived with my father at the time. The time frame of this was around the 4th of July. I finally had a day off and my best friend was back in town for vacation. We decided to get together and chip in on some good old American fireworks. To be fair, I have had nothing but bad experiences with fireworks, so I had no idea how this would be any different. We got home with the fireworks and we laid them all out on the floor: sparklers, bottle rockets, cakes, and Roman candles. I say, why don't we mess around with some sparklers since it's still not dark yet? Great idea. We go into my backyard, where it hasn't rained in well over 2 months, and it is extremely dry. You see the problem here? One of the little sparkle from mine and my friend's sparkler made contact with the ground and made it 2 small fires that quickly spread to a large area. I ran as fast as I could to grab the garden hose and quickly started spraying down the fire. It was no use. It was spreading faster than I could spray it. I handed my friend the hose and called 911. What felt like hours was only 4 minutes, and the fire was spreading to the neighbor's fence. The neighbor came outside, and they were fairly calm to grab their hose and spray down the fence, along with the dead grass in her yard. The fire department shows up finally, and I tell my friend, "Only one of us needs to get in trouble. You should leave." He was reluctant to leave because he felt equally responsible, but I convinced him I didn't want him to get in trouble and have to drop out of college. My neighbor was super chill about the entire situation at first. I told her that we could talk about replacing the fence and get some quotes to repair it. She was just super grateful that everyone was okay. About 2 hours after the fire, the arson/fire investigator came to question me about the fire. I told him the truth. I said I was in the backyard by myself playing with fireworks and accidentally lit the ground on fire. I had gotten off that day without being hit by any charges and was commended for being honest. Here is where it goes downhill very fast. About a week later, I get a knock on the door from the neighbor. I opened the door and she handed me 2 pieces of paper for me to look at. There was a quote for the fence valued at around $4,000 and an estimate for lawn care valued around $6,000. These were really shady and just typed out on a Microsoft Word document, no logo or company name. She then adds, "I will also be having you pay my water bill for 3 months because the new yard will need lots of water." Now the fence this woman had before was ragged and falling apart. Her yard? Dead grass, weeds everywhere, never mowed it. Now looking at this paper, she wants a mahogany fence and a brand new backyard with flowers and trimmed hedges? I said, "I need to get an estimate myself. This doesn't feel right." She says, "Remember you agreed to replace my fence, and a real man keeps promises." I shut the door and called my dad to tell him about what just happened. He flipped the fuck out and told me, "Son, don't you give that slut a single dime." He gives me the number to his handyman and tells me to take care of it. The next day I had the guy come out for an estimate, and the neighbor ran outside flailing her arms. "I did not give you permission to get an estimate on my fence. Technically, it separates the property line, so it's both of our fences." She calls the cops on me for having a contractor, and they ultimately can't do a single thing because I'm on my property. He quickly finishes the estimate off at $1,200. I also knew a guy who did lawn care from my time working at the grocery store. He estimated the lawn reseeding while she was away from the house to be about $800. After I get these estimates, I give copies to the woman, and she is having none of it. I don't know these people. I don't want them near my house. They're probably really shitty contractors. I said, "No, I know them personally. They are really nice people and do great work." She shut the door in my face, and I went on my way. I ended up working a 16-hour shift that night and got home at 8 a.m., and this woman comes knocking on my door at 9 a.m. and demanded I speak to her. I explained, "I would really love to do this, but I just got home and I have to be back at work in less than 5 hours. I need to sleep. She goes, what kind of lazy asshat sleeps in until 2 p.m.? At this point, I had about lost it and told her you can either accept my $2,000 for my quotes or kiss my ass and get nothing. She stood there for a while with her mouth gaped open, but she accepted my offer and planned to meet down at the notary the next morning. I spent that night after I got off work, writing a contract and gathering the $2,000 in cash. The next morning I wake up and grab this contract to meet down at the notary. I was thrilled to finally be done with this broad and never speak to her again. I waited for her for over 3 hours and she didn't show up. I get a call from her saying, I'm sorry, the $2,000 isn't enough. I'm having my guys start work on this project and you'll be paying me full price. Oh, really? After that, I did not say a single word to her, and I watched for a few months as these guys turned her backyard into an oasis, complete with a small pond, brand new sod and flowers, the whole 9 yards. Come to find out, she had plans to remodel these things for a long time and was just waiting for the opportunity to go through with it. Also in this time, she used her remodel funds to go on a trip to Hawaii. You know how I found out about this? She was bragging about it on the neighborhood Facebook group and didn't know I was in it. I have a different Facebook name than my real name. Are you ready for the revenge? Now, 4 months after the fire and all the remodels, I get served papers to go to court for $10,300. At 18 years old, I'm having to hire a lawyer to work my case. When we finally do get into court, I lay everything out. The quotes, being harassed multiple times, not showing up after agreeing to a deal, not wanting me to get my own quotes, required by law by the way, and her bragging about screwing me out of money, and I have proof of all of this. The judge looked at her and said, Ma'am, with all due respect, you're out of your daggum mind. Not only did this young man tell the truth of what happened, he offered to pay you more than he was supposed to. Your lawn was already dead before the fire occurred, therefore he is only responsible for the fence of $1,200. I will also deduct from this his lawyer fees, $800. So, I burned this woman's fence down, and all I'm having to give her is $400?
Cool.
She took a huge financial loss from this. Not sure how much the Hawaii trip cost her, but she was in serious debt. She ended up having to sell the house because of it and moved into a smaller house. Haven't heard anything from her since. TLDR. Burn my neighbor's fence down, sees it as an opportunity to milk an 18-year-old to remodel her backyard and go on a trip to Hawaii. Takes me to court and walks out $9,600 plus in debt. Edit. Some grammar issues. Also, holy hell, I normally dislike people who put in edits like this, but holy hell, it's crazy how this post blew up. I also wanted to clear a few things up. I am not saying that I do not feel bad for burning down my neighbor's fence. I felt really bad about it and wish we could have handled it more civilly. I would have been happy to meet in the middle or get multiple quotes. To this day, I still do not use fireworks because we could have really hurt someone. What I have learned through this, though, is it's best to take responsibility for your actions from the gate. The fire investigator had seen the leftover fireworks near the area of the fire and said he would have slapped cuffs on me and I would be in jail for arson if I would have gave him any other answer. I was not criminally charged and the incident was deemed an accidental fire. Thank you to the people in the comments giving me information about how much a fence actually costs. I've never had to purchase a fence before, so I had just believed what the contractor had told me without second thought. I will take some time after the edit to address some individual questions. To celebrate how successful this post is done, I have donated $150, $25 for each medal, to the Red Cross Home Fire Relief Fund. If you enjoyed this story, like and follow for more.